What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Madden 07 Albuquerque Vipers franchise and the Season 11 offseason. As we saw in the last episode, the Packers surprisingly blew out the Colts, a super team, with Aaron Rodgers on it, in the Super Bowl. 30-6, didn't even give up a touchdown. Well, the Colts didn't give up a single touchdown until the Super Bowl, so they definitely saved their worst for last. So yeah, without any further ado, we are going to jump into the offseason and take a look, I guess, and see how the landscape of the NFL is going to change going into 2016. The NFC is going to win their 5th Pro Bowl of the series, tying it up at 5 apiece if you go back to Season 1. Ooh, look at that connection cross to Fitzgerald in the end zone. And then touchdown return on a kickoff there. Scott Donaldson from Omar McGuire. And then that field goal in overtime as it was tied at 18 apiece. No passing touchdowns from Rodgers or Walker. Walker did throw 2 picks. Meanwhile, McGuire and Cross both pretty good. Only 1 incomplete pass for Orlando Cross. Looking at the rushing numbers, nothing too crazy, but Jamarcus Ward did get 3 carries. Looks like they tried some trickery. Only along of 4, though. Luke Holt led the AFC in receiving. He had a 34-yard reception, which was their longest play. And then Larry Fitzgerald, 5 for 89, and that touchdown. Donaldson with the other receiving touchdown. Let's see what any other Vipers may have done. Justin Williams, he did go to the Pro Bowl, only got 2 tackles, though. And yeah, that's it for defense and just for players in general. It's mostly just Fitzgerald and Cross out here making an impact. All right, we got to look at retiring players going into 2016, starting off with Byron Leftwich. He spent his last year with the Cowboys. Before that, he was with the Bills, the Lions, and of course, the Jaguars. Congratulations on your career. Michael Vick, I figured it would be his last season, but I mean, it was an all right season. He had more interceptions than touchdowns, which isn't great. He kind of fell off for the last few years recently. I mean, ever since his MVP campaign in 08, but he really hasn't been running the ball a whole lot. Look at that, 15 yards last year. This year, yeah, he hasn't really run a whole lot, but let's see, what is his speed down to? 55 speed. He had to become more of a pocket passer, kind of like in real life. Former Viper Seneca Wallace, we'll never forget that Seneca Wallace season in 2011. That gave him a few more years in the league, I'd say, though. Philadelphia gave him some money, then he didn't really perform. Went to Jacksonville, in and out of the starting lineup, and now retiring. Ken Dorsey, he's gonna retire on a high note. I mean, it's still crazy that he didn't play for 5 years and then comes in for the Packers, 2,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 16 picks, and is a Super Bowl champion. And finally, Chris Sims, former Buccaneer, Redskin, and Brown. He's going to be hanging him up. He had an all right career, one of the better backups in the league. Cadillac Williams is going to retire after 2 years with San Francisco. He is coming off a 1,000-yard campaign, but maybe he's not trying to, retire on a 200-yard campaign. Ronnie Brown's going to retire as an Atlanta Falcon, and yeah, he only had 400 yards and a touchdown. Holmberg is going to retire for the Bears. Is this someone who, wow, I think he might be the first player that was drafted in this series that is now retiring, outside of a few players who had to retire due to injuries and whatnot. But yeah, he's not retiring due to injuries, maybe just lack of playing time. I mean, Holmberg was actually all right for the Saints for a couple of seasons. He had 900 yards and 8 touchdowns back-to-back seasons. That got him a contract in Chicago. 33, though. He must have been kind of old when he got drafted. Willis McGahee, he's going to retire as a Patriot, 7 yards this past season. Kevin Jones, he's retiring as a Buccaneer. Of course, he was great for the Lions. He torched us a few times. Michael Robinson, here's another former Viper. 400 yards in his final season, which is crazy. You may remember he was our running back from season 1, played some quarterback at Penn State. Obviously, he couldn't really do a whole lot behind our awful offensive line. Went to Seattle, got 55 yards there. Didn't do a whole lot until he got to San Francisco, had to come in and be a third-string running back. Had 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, so not terrible. Retires as a Jaguar. And then P.J. Daniels, the last guy retiring, who I believe is a real guy. Yes, he is, drafted in 06. Fullbacks retiring, you have Justin Griffith, The Giants, Falcons, and the Broncos all are going to be losing their guys. Anquan Boldin is going to retire, not as a Super Bowl champion. Did he ever win a Super Bowl? No, he didn't. Obviously, the Cardinals they've yet to make the playoffs, I think, in this series. Pittsburgh has been pretty good, but never could win the big one so far. And now Indianapolis, with that awful loss in the Super Bowl, he's going to be hanging him up. Reggie Brown is going to retire as a Giant. Nate Burleson as a Seahawk. And, he's torched us a lot in his days in Seattle, obviously playing him twice a season. And he's going to be hanging him up at 35 years old. Dante Stallworth, he's going to retire as a Philadelphia Eagle, the former Buccaneer and Saint. Wes Welker, he's going to retire as a Baltimore Raven. Poor guy. Ravens are one of the worst teams in football. Antonio Bryant retiring as an Eagle. So is Brandon Lloyd. Some big names in the tight end department are going to be hanging him up. 99 overall, Antonio Gates. I mean, the definition of consistency, just about the same every season when it comes to yards and touchdowns. He did have that 1,000-yard campaign in 05, and then anywhere from 600 to 800 yards every year after that. Jeremy Shockey, he's going to retire as an Eagle. Look away, Giants fans. He had that 1 year in Seattle as well, and then, of course, his time in New York. Todd Heap, he kind of bounced around the league, finishes his career with the Browns. He was also with the Texans, Packers, and of course the Ravens. LJ Smith is going to retire as a Cowboy, so look away, Eagles fans, I guess. Detroit, they're going to be losing a tight end. Kevin Norris, a career-ending injury for him. He didn't get a ton of playing time other than in 2012 when he did have 75 catches and 3 of his 5 career touchdowns. It's always sad to see someone, have to retire due to injury, drafted in 2010. Matt Light, former Patriots, going to retire as a Brown, 38 years old. One of the best offensive linemen in the league. Patriots are losing a guy, as the Steelers are, as we kind of just go through. Looking at guards, you have some big names here, including 2 Packers, so they're going to have to fix up their interior line. Looking at the middle of the offensive line now, Texans, Chargers, Jaguars, they're all going to be losing their guys. Looking at the defense, Derek Burgess, he's going to retire as a Patriot, former Panther, Raider, and Jaguar. Agoulier is going to retire as a New York Jet. He also played for the Falcons and the Bears. Strobel. Carter's going to be retiring. Still on the defensive line, we have Raheem Brock at 38 years old. Redskins losing 2 defensive tackles. They're going to have to fix up their interior defensive line, looks like. Cato June, he's going to retire as a Denver Bronco, also with the Falcons and Colts. Lance Briggs going to retire as a Cincinnati Bengal. He had he actually had a few good seasons in Cincinnati. 11 sacks twice, and he also had 10 sacks. Cincinnati losing another outside linebacker there. Greenway's retiring. Dan Morgan is going to retire as an Atlanta Falcon. Antonio Pierce is he's retiring as a Cowboy. You have Andre Davis retiring with the Panthers. Foote, Thompson. Looking at the secondary now, Charles Rogers is going to retire as a New York Jet, also played with the Redskins. Bryant McFadden, he's going to retire with the San Diego Superchargers, former Steeler. Ricky Manning is going to be retiring. He was with Seattle. He also played with Houston and Chicago. Terrence McGee's going to retire. Marcus Trufant. Charles Tillman is going to retire with the Bears in his second stint there. He also spent some time with New England and Jacksonville. You have Floyd. Lito Shepard's going to be retiring. Mathis. Asante Samuel, who did spend a few years with Albuquerque. Randall Gay. You got Philip Buchanan retiring as a Chicago Bear. Spent the rest of his career in Houston. Eric Green, that's the first current Viper we're seeing. He's going to be retiring, as is Fabian Washington. Houston's going to be losing Ken Hamlin. Daniil Mannion, there's another Viper that's going to be retiring. He was probably going to get replaced this season anyway, as he is a 79 overall, and that's definitely a position we could upgrade on the defense. Roy Williams is going to retire as a Jaguar. Poor guy, went 2-14 his final season. Mike Doss is going to be retiring. Akers is going to be retiring as a Denver Bronco. Matt Bryant retiring as a Charger. And finally at the punters, you have Johnson and Rodney Williams. So for the first time in 10 years, we're going to have to pick up a new punter. Rodney Williams, he was the definition of consistency at the punting position. I mean, 42 yards per punt, 41, 42, 42, 40. I mean, he was very consistent for Albuquerque. And I mean, he's rocking that headband. So how could you not love him? So yeah, we're going to have to be looking for a new guy now. All right, restricted free agents. Baron Cleveland is one of them. I would love him to come back. He's been a great player on the defensive line for us so far. Whoa, Brian Jackson as an unrestricted free agent is going to be going to the Patriots. Let's go, he can't torch us anymore. And Blake Peters going to be outside the division too. He's headed down south of San Diego, and him and Cross met several times in our matchups with Seattle. So those are two guys who have been just a pain in the butt for us that we aren't going to have to deal with anymore. We're also going to sign Alan Graham to a restricted free agency contract. Oh, but Alan Graham, he's going to get a 2-year contract from Washington instead. We get a 5th-round pick out of it. I mean, that's not super valuable, but, he's also not an incredibly valuable player. No disrespect to Alan Graham. What he's done for us in his few catches has been good, but it looks like he's going to be headed to Washington. And then Eugene Antoine, Charles Mason, Sam Young, and Pat Small are all going to be normal free agents now. So now to re-signing players, and we got to hold out Joey Hand after 1 year playing for the Vipers. He is holding out, as you can see. He's one of the best left tackles in football, but he did give up 10 sacks this season. I'm not going to let that, kind of push me away from trying to bring him back, though. But first, we're going to deal with one of the best centers in football. 3 years, $15.5 million, just over $3 million in signing bonus, and he's sticking around. So despite Larry Fitzgerald struggling with some drops, especially down the stretch at the end of the season, he still led the league in receiving and had 11 touchdowns, one of the better years of his career, I guess, 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's pretty good. So he is 32, but I mean, until we really see him drop off in, his productivity, we're going to just keep him around because he's one of the best receivers in football. All right, we'll see if this contract is going to make Joey Hand happy, and it does. Now, for players who probably won't be here next season, starting off with Cooper Carlisle. He has been a fantastic guard for us going all the way back to 2007. When we went crazy in free agency. He has been here since not quite day one, but like day 2. And he's not retired. He's a 94 overall, but he's been 16 years pro. Let's see how old is he? He's 39. 1, maybe 2 years left in him. We're going to let him walk. Eugene Thomas, he was our first round pick after winning the Super Bowl, and he's been all right. He's average, but we're going to let him walk. John Mullen, we're going to let him walk. Some of these lower rated players probably won't be picked up immediately in free agency, so we could maybe pick one of them up later on in the offseason. Ralph Nelson, he spent 1 year with us. 77 yards for him, only 15 carries. Again, maybe we'll bring him back, but he is an 80 overall, so he might get signed. Brandon Glover, he's going to be leaving. Kirk Figgins is a guy I went back and forth on. I don't think he's going to get picked up immediately as a 75 overall, so maybe, again, later on in free agency, we'll pick him up. Antonio Sykes, another guy we might pick up later on, but as for now, at least, they're not going to be on the team anymore. In his 2 years in Albuquerque, Bernard Bailey has had double-digit sacks each season, and so we're going to be giving him this 3-year, $24 million contract extension. Another year of crazy free agency. For us, just 2 pickups, but both starters on defense. Willie Delgado, he spent time with the Cleveland Browns and Chicago Bears. He was actually part of that great 07 draft class that Orlando Cross was in, so love bringing him in to play outside linebacker. And then at safety, we got Lamar James, spent time with the Broncos and the Seahawks, staying inside the division now. Free safety was a need before, and with Manny retiring, it's even more of a need, but not a need anymore. We got that filled. So looking at around the league, it got pretty crazy. Alex Malone, the Patriots didn't re-sign their star quarterback, so he goes down south to Houston, but Eli Manning's in Houston. Not anymore, ironically signing with the San Diego Chargers. Shannon Pleasant hopping from Tennessee to Washington to play for the Redskins, but they have Brock Flowers. Not anymore. Brock Flowers was let go, and he goes up north to Buffalo. Big Ben's going to be quarterbacking for the Green Bay Packers. Benji Owens, first overall pick a season ago. He has 1 year of play, and the Bengals released him. He is still a free agent. Morris is going to be quarterbacking for the Titans, at least for now. The failed quarterback was with the Saints or Cowboys. No, he was a Dolphins pick a few years ago. Went to the Cowboys. He's going to have a second shot at starting in the league. No running backs have been signed. I don't know how that's possible. Ed Ailman, former Viper, is actually the top running back available. How has not a single running back been signed, though? What in the world? Look at all these fullbacks that have been signed, though. The Giants, the Raiders, the Browns, the Broncos, the Dolphins. Look at all these teams getting fullbacks, but I guess apparently no one needs a running back. Greg Jennings, he was in Philadelphia. Now he's headed back to Green Bay, catching passes from Ben Roethlisberger. Braylon Edwards from Washington to Denver. Harold Williams is going to be going to Seattle, who lost a couple of receivers already. Melvin Wallace also going to Denver, really beefing up their receiving core. Mark Bradley is going to be a Carolina Panther. So Norris Moss going down to Houston. Evan Spotto from Chicago to the Ravens. Darius Floyd from San Francisco. Stafford's going to be the top tight end off the board, if you will, going to the Chargers, playing with Eli Manning. Kellen Winslow still in the league, apparently. He's going to be playing in Dallas. Anthony Fazno, he's going to be a Detroit Lion. Where did he play before? He was with the Saints and Cowboys. Lamar Brooks is going to be a Denver Bronco. The Packers beefing up their O-line, as are the Redskins, Patriots, and Broncos. Colts, Giants. Giants doubling down on left guard. All right. Center, the Texans getting someone to protect their new quarterback. The Browns and Broncos and Bengals, all these B teams. Only the Bears missing out, it looks like, on grabbing a center. The Redskins are going to get Randall Campbell, former Viper, and Colts. And Carlisle's going to go replace him in Indianapolis, apparently. Miller's going to be headed to the Steelers. Right tackle, the Redskins getting another guy. Steelers grabbing Jason Peters and Alfred Morris. Okay, doubling down at that position. You see a lot of teams double down, especially at the offensive line, it feels like, in free agency. Ted Gray's going to be a Titan. The Packers getting a defensive lineman there. The Saints getting a couple of them. Mario Williams, he's headed to Cleveland. He'd spent his entire career with Houston so far. One of the best defensive players in the league. 111 sacks for the Texans. Dwight Freeney, he's going to play for Detroit. Mike Patterson, the top defensive tackle, he's going to be going to the Jets. Where was he before? With the Giants. All right, so staying in the same city, just flipping teams. You got Vince Wilfork staying with the Falcons. AJ Hawk, he did hit free agency. He's headed back to Green Bay, though. Derek Johnson, he's going to be a Panther. I feel like he was there before at some point. Nope, apparently not. He is there now. Willie Delgado, obviously we grabbed him, and he gets replaced by Eric McGrady in Cleveland. Tapupu is the top middle linebacker. He's headed to Pittsburgh. We did consider giving Reggie Phillips a contract. He is a better middle linebacker than Quaim Holt, but ultimately decided against it. Gary Brackett, he's going to be a Saint. At outside linebacker, you got Marvin Lake. He's headed to Houston. Alex is going to be going to Baltimore. DeMarcus Ware, a free agent. Where was he playing last year? He was in Carolina. Okay. Emmanuel's going to be a New Orleans Saints. Murphy's headed to Seattle. Collier's going to be going to Houston. Houston making a lot of big moves, it feels like. They're definitely going to be competing with the Colts in that division. Henry Scott going to the Saints. Bob Sanders to the Texans. We grabbed Lamar James. And Josh Devine, he's going to be flipping from the Falcons to the Saints. A 99 overall, one of the best strong safeties in football. Steven Gostkowski, Also going down to Houston, they are bringing in a lot of free agents this season. And then punchers, we ultimately didn't grab one. I would like to draft one, but I mean, even if we don't, there's plenty available. Even just down here, I mean, Rodney Williams was never a super high overall and still a really good punter for us, so I'm not too concerned about that. This is one of the earlier first round picks that we've had in a long time now, pick number 20 in the first round. And with it, it's not super sexy, but we're going to pick up a left guard in Derek Flanagan. Welcome to the team. Jimmy Andrews is a wide receiver that was projected to go into the first round. He's fallen all the way to us now in the second round. There's probably a reason that he fell this far, but you know what? We're going to take a shot on him. And then it looks like we're going to double dip at wide receiver. Fernando Davis is the only player left scouted on my board. I like some of the stuff he has to offer, so we're going to bring him in. Round 4, pick number 20, we're going to take Jake Scott, center. I said I wanted to draft a punter. We're going to take Wesley Dumas in the 5th round. And then with our other 5th round pick that we got earlier from the unrestricted free agency, we're going to take Elvis Watts, running back. In the 6th round, we're going to go cornerback in Dan Hampton. All right, so before our last pick, we're going to quickly recap a majority of the draft. There's just a couple 7th round picks left to go, starting with the Chicago Bears, who went wide receiver in the 1st round, running back. They got a couple linebackers and a quarterback. The Bengals, I don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for them this season. They haven't drafted anyone, maybe in the second wave of free agency. The Bills, they traded up to get a running back, then didn't pick again till the 5th round where they took a punter, then linebacker and receiver. The Broncos traded up a couple spots to grab a tight end. They also got themselves a safety, some linebacker help there. The Browns went wide receiver in Pittman, then they grabbed McGee and Vincent at quarterback. The Buccaneers, they had a fair amount of picks, a couple linebackers, a fullback. Not the sexiest picks in the world, but it's stuff you need to build a team. The Cardinals, no more Jim Middleton, hopefully for them. Brandon is their new quarterback. They got him 8th overall. He was the first quarterback off the board and the only one to go in the 1st round. The Chargers, they're just stacking stuff up now. I think they're going to be really good this next season. They went middle linebacker, tackle, corner, more linebackers. The Chiefs went defensive end. They also got an offensive lineman. The Colts grabbed a left guard with their 1st round pick, then a left end, and another left guard. Dallas went defensive tackle. Then they took the 3rd quarterback, I believe he was, off the board in the 2nd round. The Dolphins, 4th overall, they took a left tackle. They also went cornerback and fullback. The Eagles with the 13th overall pick after trading back, they got Isaac Gregg, an outside linebacker that I actually scouted and probably would have drafted if he was there at 20. The Falcons, they needed a running back. They got one at 22. They also got a couple of guards to block for him and a fullback. The Niners traded up to grab a tight end. I think Vernon Davis is still there, though, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. The Giants went offensive line. They got a linebacker, too. The Jaguars, 2nd overall, took Diggs, a running back from Nebraska. So it looks like they're actually going to be sticking with their quarterback this season. The Jets went left guard, then they got a quarterback in the 2nd round, who's probably going to be a backup, I would imagine, behind Phillip Rivers. The Lions, I don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for them either. They grabbed a receiver in the 1st round, obviously with Michael Vick's retirement and whatnot. The Packers, they went tight end with the last pick of the 1st round, obviously being the defending champions. The Panthers, 5th overall, they took a wide receiver, so still trying to build around Freeman, which I like. The Patriots went right guard. I'm not entirely sure he's going to be their quarterback. Maybe they're just going to be sticking with Kyle Cates. They didn't take a quarterback in the 1st round. The Oakland Raiders didn't pick until the 2nd round, and that pick was Small. Small was projected to go in the top 10. He fell to them early in the 2nd round, and they took him. Will he be starting over Ray Dawkins? I don't know. The Ravens, a team that actually needed a quarterback, I would say. They didn't get one. Instead, they got wide receiver, free safety, a kicker, and some right tackles. Interesting picks for one of the worst teams in football. The Redskins, they went safety, kicker, doubled down on cornerback. The Saints went center, halfback, quarterback, a couple more running backs. Man, they had a lot of picks. The Seahawks went safety in the 1st round. It was a need for them. They double dipped theirs. They got one in the 2nd round as well. The Steelers went right tackle, and then they went receiver as they had 2 first-round picks. The Texans didn't pick until the 2nd round. They got a cornerback, then in the 3rd round, grabbed a quarterback, grabbed another one in the 5th round. Some backups, I guess, for their new quarterback that they got. The Titans, they go right tackle, then they go linebacker. And then the Vikings, first overall, they pick this defensive end out of Weber State. That's wild. Weber State with a player going first overall, but he was projected to go first overall, and that's where he went. And with our 7th round pick, we're going to grab Vince Mitchell, strong safety, LSU. So now time to recap our draft. Flanagan, our 1st round pick, 85 overall as a left guard. You love to see it. Let's take a look at some of his blocking attributes. 85 pass blocking, 87 run blocking, and his awareness is 75, so a tad low, but I mean, he's a rookie. That'll get better over time. Jimmy Andrews, the 1st round pick that fell to us in the 2nd round. I don't know why. Maybe he has off the field issues or something. He's an 80 overall with 95 speed. His catching is 76. Obviously, that could be better, but I mean, really good player it looks like. I'm excited for him. And then the other receiver we got, Fernando Davis, a 78 overall. Like, these are not bad receivers at all. His catching is a little bit lower, but I mean, he was projected to go a little bit later in the draft too. Jake Scott, who we just brought on to be a backup center, 77. That's really good for, like, what was he, a 4th round pick or whatever? Wesley Dumas, the disappointment of the draft for sure. Our punter, 64 overall. We'll see if he'll be punting for us this season. Maybe he will, maybe not. Elvis Watts, we got him in the 5th round, 75 overall. Not bad for, a 5th round pick. What is his catching? It's only a 60. Maybe we'll bring back Figgins to be our 3rd down back. Dan Hampton, the cornerback that we got, he's a 73 overall. His awareness is a 49, though. We'll have to see how much action he gets. And then Vince Mitchell, the last guy we got, 70 overall, but he was a 7th round pick, so not a ton of expectations on him. Jerome Mathis has been a solid player for us, mainly at the kick and punt return positions, but also at receiver. But with the 2 guys that we brought in the draft, we're going to be letting go of Mathis. 2nd wave of free agency now. We did bring in another punter, Chris Hansen, a much higher overall, so he will be starting for us this season. We also brought back a couple of familiar faces, including not Jordan Babinox, but as TikTok corrected me, Jordan Babineau. We're going to bring him back. He actually was part of the reason we didn't make the playoffs. He had an interception against us when we played the Bears, but you know what? We're bringing him back. Tom Lang coming back after spending some time in Detroit and Arizona. He was with us in season 1. He was the highest rated player on the roster back in 06. We also got some depth on the offensive line. Benji Owens, the 1st overall pick from last year. He has found a home, backing up Eli Manning in San Diego. Manning is getting up there in age, so maybe, he'll take over after Manning, retires in the next few seasons. Who knows? Albert Harris, I believe he was a former Bronco. Yes, indeed. He's headed to New York to back up Rivers, it looks like. Crabtree is going to be a Buccaneer. Dennis Malone to the Cowboys. Is Chris Hill going to be the Bengals starting quarterback? Former Steeler, Brown, and Cowboy. He's kind of been bouncing around the league. Andre Bennett, probably going to be a 3rd string quarterback in Green Bay. Jamar Alexander, former Raider, now with the Falcons. Giants get another quarterback there. Daniel Battle gets himself a job. Ed Ailman gets signed. He's going to the New York Jets. James Moore to the Seahawks. So we finally see some running backs get signed. Ralph Nelson, he spent last year with us. He is now in Chicago. Biff Mitchell, he was a high pick by the Broncos several years ago now. Only 1,000-yard rushing season, and now in Carolina. Clark is the top receiver that was left. He goes to the Steelers. John Hitchcock from Green Bay to ATL. They also grabbed Champ Michaels. Let's see, what else? Franklin is going to go to Denver, so adding some depth to their tight end room. Texans beef up their offensive line. Lions grab a couple of guards. Giants grab a center. The Bills grab a couple of right guards. Falcons get the top right tackle still available. Curtis Brown, defensive end. Is he going to be replacing Mario Williams? Maybe. That's going to be a big task to do. Terrell Suggs, I mean, he's not the Terrell Suggs that he was in real life. Just looking at his stats, not the best in recent years, at least in his time in Miami and Green Bay. He does have a ring from Green Bay now, though. To the defensive tackle position, Pickett's going to the Bears. Outside linebacker, you got Mike Oliver. Eugene Thomas from Albuquerque to New York, now playing for those Giants. Middle linebacker Anthony Smith goes to replace what's-his-face that was there before. The guy went to the Browns, I want to say. The linebacker we were looking at earlier. DeMarcus Ware headed back to Dallas after spending some time in Carolina. The top corner is going to be going to Detroit. Still don't know who their quarterback is, though. Free safety, the Seahawks get themselves another guy there, probably also for depth. Packers get a starting strong safety, Mike Hashley, or Hashley, however you pronounce his name. Robbie Gould, he is looking like he'll go to Pittsburgh, maybe New York. And the Bears get themselves a kicker as well. And then, of course, we got the top punter in free agency. So here's a look at our depth chart going into 2016. Obviously, Orlando Cross, QB1. Dejon Beasley, QB2, and then Koch is going to be number 3. Jake Gordon, he's going to be the running back. You also got Greg Riddle, Malecki, Elvis Watts is there. Ron White, obviously, is going to be our fullback. Larry Fitzgerald, Charles Phillips, and Jamarcus Ward are going to be the starting receivers, with Jimmy Andrews and Fernando Davis there to, get some snaps and whatnot too. Vaughan Lewis is tight end 1. Then you got Trey Francis. Joey Hand, we obviously resolved his contract situation. Santiago at left guard. Chris Diamond in the middle. Flanagan, he is technically a left guard, but he's going to be playing right guard. And then Williams on the right side there. Baron Cleveland, defensive end at the left side. Right side is going to be Jesse Baker. Tom Lang's going to be backing him up on that side. And then Devine on the left side is going to be backing up. Daryl Fannin, he is going to be starting, but he's a player to watch out for to possibly be on the move by the midseason trade deadline. This could be his last year in Albuquerque if he doesn't produce, because he's one of the highest paid players, not just at his position, but in football. And he has not had a double-digit sack season in a while, while Bailey and Hutchinson both had double-digit sacks a season ago. So if he doesn't produce, especially maybe early on in the season, he could be gone despite being a Vipers legend. Delgado is going to be playing left outside linebacker with Quinn backing him up middle. You got Quaim Holt, Steve Farr, and Maurice Taylor. And then right outside linebacker could be a little bit of a weakness. We'll have to see how Javon Anthony plays. Dorsey could maybe get himself some playing time. Darren Gordon and Justin Williams are going to be the outside corners. Jordan Babineau, he has 99 awareness, but 76 speeds. He's going to be playing in the slot. Hopefully he can, not get burnt too often there. Otherwise, we might see some more Darius Mack or even Dan Hampton. Obviously, Lamar James going to be free safety backed up by Chrisman, and then strong safety John Kelly with Mitchell behind him. Koch is going to be our kicker, and Hansen our punter. And with us picking up Hansen in free agency, we don't really have a need to have 2 punters on the roster, so we are going to be releasing the rookie. And that is going to do it for the offseason going in to year 11. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, what you thought about the free agent signings, the draft picks, anything like that. Stuff like that's always appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like, that is also very appreciated. Helps out the video a ton. And let me know if you're excited for season 11. We got the preseason coming up next, and then we'll be jumping into some real action. So until next time now, this has been Jeffrey, reminding you to stay moist.